More details have been released as to why Molly Qerim abruptly quit ESPN. And when I say abruptly quit, I mean she left work, I think it was on Monday, and she never came.
Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
Was Molly Qerim's departure from ESPN really just about starting fresh? Or is there a bigger, messier story hiding behind the scenes? That's the buzz right now, igniting social media and keeping sports fans glued to every update. This isn't your average TV shakeup or a quiet contract ending. What we're hearing involves serious accusations, personal grudges, and behind-the-scenes moves that feel more like a late-night drama than a sports network. And it's not just about Molly. It's raising tough questions about ESPN itself. Something deeper seems to be going on, and so far, no one at the network is stepping up to explain.
Sometimes when you have someone abruptly quit a job, they're not leaving on the best terms. Normally, it's polite to give your employer some kind of notice.
For more than 10 years, Molly Qerim was the steady presence on First Take, sitting beside Stephen A. Smith, keeping his energy in check, and making sure the show's fiery debates never spun out of control. To viewers, it seemed like the perfect formula for live sports talk, until one morning when Molly was suddenly gone, and the rumor mill went wild. She posted the usual classy goodbye on Instagram, thanking her colleagues, praising the show's voices, and showing appreciation for loyal fans. But anyone familiar with how this industry works knows those polished statements rarely tell the whole story. Behind the scenes, ESPN quickly rushed to cover the exit with tributes, polite thank yous, and glowing memories. Yet what stood out was what they didn't say, nothing about the storm brewing just out of sight.
Quitting right now. Both ESPN and Molly Qerim, they are trying to polish they're trying to make this look like an amicable divorce. And look, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe they couldn't come to an agreement and they agreed to amicably part ways. I'm more interested in
what followed was pure chaos, like something ripped from a second-rate soap opera. The first accusations didn't come from ESPN, or even from Molly herself, but from a woman claiming to be Stephen A. Smith's ex-girlfriend, and she didn't hold back. She went straight for ESPN's reputation, accusing Molly Qerim of running a calculated campaign against Stephen A. According to her, Molly leaked contract details, spread damaging rumors to competitors, and, most shocking of all, planted a harassment story that could have ended his career. The alleged motive? A mix of revenge, ambition, and jealousy over Stephen A.'s massive contract. In her now infamous rant, the accuser mocked Molly, saying, "She wants Stephen A. money without Stephen A. talent." To her, this wasn't just about being a host, it was about control over the spotlight, and who got pushed aside.
Well, let's remember, what did just last week, Stephen A. was on air bragging about the people he stood up for to get paid, and how many, Cam, I did it for Shannon Sharp, and I did it for this person and that person. And when I look at the abrupt, I'm not coming into work tomorrow.
Yeah.
That also is like, maybe there's pointing the finger at Stephen A.
Even if you take the wildest claims with a grain of salt, it's clear ESPN was heading toward a blow-up. 4 months, sharp-eyed fans and staff noticed the tension between Molly and Stephen A. wasn't just playful debate. It was personal, raw, and at times, downright awkward. Clips started circulating online showing the two sparring over everything from guest choices to digs about salary and control. Molly even joked on air that she couldn't go to the bathroom without Stephen A. knowing, while he fired back with half-joking, half-serious remarks that made viewers wonder how much of the feud was spilling off camera. And in a business where rumors travel faster than press releases, that tension fueled endless speculation. But according to multiple sources, the breaking point came just weeks before Molly's exit. At ESPN's Connecticut headquarters, a behind-the-scenes confrontation reportedly got so heated that security had to step in. Accounts differ, but insiders describe Stephen A. accusing Molly of betrayal, while she shot back claiming sabotage. Producers in the room scrambled to keep the incident quiet, far away from Slack channels and management's eyes. This wasn't the type of argument you patch up by Monday morning. It was scorched earth, an explosion that left no way back, only damage control.
Start with Molly Qerim. She, yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving immediately, which is an indication that man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more serious. She's off the show.
As always, the fallout landed on ESPN's doorstep. Executives rushed to downplay the situation, calling Molly's exit a matter of personal growth and a chance to start a new chapter. Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content, praised her long run with the network and claimed they had even tried to find her other opportunities. In short, business as usual, but insiders know better. When the bosses insist nothing else is coming, that's usually when you should expect the hammer to drop. The timing only fueled suspicion. Just as Molly's farewell dominated headlines, news broke that Malika Andrews had scored a massive new contract. Was it coincidence, or a calculated move to slide one star out while elevating another? Stephen A. Smith added more fuel with his on-air reaction. He admitted he was quite sad about Molly leaving but quickly drew a line, telling viewers, "The details, quite frankly, are none of your business. And it's not like I know all the details." Translation: there's more to the story, but don't expect him to spill. Off-air, he was even more cryptic, saying the story was Molly's to tell, and hinting that yes, he had an idea what went down but wasn't about to share it. That silence was gasoline on the fire. Fans and critics began dissecting every past moment between the two, every awkward exchange, every offhand remark, every tense glance on first take. One clip resurfaced where Stephen A. joked about Molly's eating habits during commercial breaks. Harmless throwaway line, or not so subtle dig tied to deeper issues. The backlash was immediate. Viewers called the comment out as inappropriate, with some suggesting Stephen A. was holding onto an old grudge. Before long, every smile, sigh, and side-eye was being treated like evidence in a mystery drama, keeping speculation alive and louder than ever.
Whether she goes to FS1 or launches her own show on YouTube, I wish Molly Qerim nothing but the best. I don't want to see her fail, but at the same time, I don't see a path to success. It is hard to build an audience by yourself. It's hard to build and sustain an audience when it's just you.
At the same time, so-called receipts from Stephen A.'s alleged ex started making the rounds. She claimed Molly wasn't just stirring up scandals on her own. She was teaming up with certain ESPN executives who weren't exactly thrilled about Stephen A.'s rapid rise. The picture painted was one of egos, jealousy, and workplace politics. The kind of drama that never shows up in press releases but always finds its way into the tabloids, adding fuel to the fire. The accuser insisted Molly's contract demands had gotten out of control, sparking behind-the-scenes battles over money, power, and who really called the shots. According to the conspiracy crowd, ESPN wasn't focused on calming the storm. It was more about protecting the brand, especially with ratings pressure mounting and rival networks circling. That leads to the big question: what would push a longtime face of the network to gamble everything, her reputation, her alliances, even her health, on a supposed campaign of sabotage? Was the goal to take Stephen A. down, to grab his paycheck, or simply to make sure she wasn't shoved aside as the next big star came in with the next big contract? The truth is tangled up in bias and self-preservation, but the stakes couldn't have been higher. Molly was already dealing with her own health struggles, which made her an unlikely villain. Yet the fact that her illness was suddenly dragged into the ex's rants only fueled more speculation. Was this a genuine call for sympathy, or a way to quietly step out before the situation completely blew up?
A lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details. It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, rather, she made a decision.
And now we're left with the fallout. First Take has lost its steady anchor, new faces are waiting in the wings, and ESPN wants the world to believe this is nothing more than routine business. But as the smoke clears, the unanswered questions keep piling up. Stephen A. continues to drop just enough hints to keep fans guessing, but never enough to close the case. Why stay silent? Is he protecting himself, protecting Molly, or shielding someone higher up the food chain? What stands out is how uncharacteristically careful Stephen A. has been. The man known for bold, unfiltered takes suddenly clammed up the moment Molly's exit went public. His words felt like a velvet rope across a crime scene. The details, quite frankly, are none of your business. It's not as if I know all the details. But we all know that's only part of the truth. When has Stephen A. ever held back, unless the stakes were radioactive? His silence speaks volumes. Whether it's fear of implicating himself or guarding secrets that could blow up more than one career, his restraint says more than a tell-all interview ever could. So here we are, sifting through cryptic comments, leaked claims, and tense glances like detectives on the night shift. One thing's certain, this story isn't cooling down. It's just getting started.
Jason, I actually watched that whole video clip of Stephen A. Smith. I just thought it was fun. It ain't none of y'all business. It was a contract negotiation. Well, so it was about the money. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for cluing it. It's always about the money, though. It's like in boxing. Why didn't this fight happen? Easy. There wasn't a...
As Molly heads out of ESPN for the last time, the studio she leaves behind feels anything but stable. A network once built on bold personalities is now stuck in damage control. Enter Malika Andrews, whose rapid rise and lucrative new contract seemed almost too perfectly timed. To many, it looked less like coincidence and more like a carefully planned swap. Molly out the back door, Malika stepping into the spotlight. But was this a smooth transition or just another move in a much bigger, messier chess game behind the scenes? One longtime producer, who's weathered more shakeups than they can count, described ESPN's culture as a non-stop power struggle, where no one, not even veteran hosts, are safe from being pushed aside. And when you follow the money, the picture sharpens. Stephen A. Smith's influence looms larger than ever, with contracts so massive they rival NFL coaching salaries. Insiders say his growing power has ruffled feathers among anchors and producers, turning the studio into a pressure cooker with Stephen A. holding more sway, and Malika on the fast track to building her own empire. Molly's exit looks less like a personal choice and more like collateral damage in an internal turf war. ESPN XX may insist it's just business as usual, but the timing suggests otherwise, a carefully managed shakeout of anyone not fully aligned with the network's new order.
When I heard that it was immediate, I was like, oh, she must already have a job lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And the job that she has lined up must be some sort of competitor to ESPN. And so that made me, is she going to Fox Sports?
And just when it seemed like the drama couldn't get any deeper, new whispers surfaced about Molly's so-called blackmail folder. According to multiple sources, she allegedly kept a hidden digital stash packed with sensitive emails, private recordings, and years of off-the-record dirt on executives and on-air talent. If true, that folder could be a nuclear option, something to use as leverage for a better deal or at the very least, a smooth exit from ESPN. Some insiders even believe the mere possibility of its existence is what pushed leadership to move her out quickly and control the narrative so carefully. What might be inside? One former staffer claims she saw emails about contract disputes and unfiltered complaints aimed at colleagues. Another insists there were voice memos capturing awkward encounters between anchors and management. None of this has been proven, but the speculation alone has ESPN's legal team working overtime and XX watching their backs. It's the stuff of a boardroom thriller. The idea that one well-timed leak could send the entire operation crashing down.
The other thing I thought, Steve, was when you pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million, that means, okay, well, whoever his co-host is, they're going to want an exorbitant amount of money. And so she may have been making $2.5, $3 million as the host. Well, when Stephen A. is sitting there making 20, well, maybe now she wants to make 10.
Some fans see Molly as a survivor standing up to a toxic workplace. Others view her as a strategist who pushed her power plays too far. The truth may sit somewhere in the middle. In today's media world, where influence is measured in viral clips and massive contracts, does anyone really play fair? Molly's farewell statement was polished and full of gratitude, lifelong friendships, unforgettable memories, and appreciation for the journey. But behind that warmth, the sound of doors closing was hard to ignore. And the impact goes far beyond one anchor's career. Inside ESPN, the fallout has left the network at a crossroads. What was once seen as an untouchable brand now faces whispers of power grabs, betrayals, and a culture that may be turning against itself. Staffers are asking, who's next to pursue other opportunities? Which messy story will be buried before it ever reaches the headlines? Executives keep insisting there's nothing more to see here. But every ex-host, producer, and intern with a grudge seems to be waiting for the next shoe to drop. And Stephen A. His silence only adds fuel to the fire. He hasn't denied anything, hasn't confirmed anything, just kept enough distance to let speculation run wild. Will he walk away untouched, or will the spotlight eventually turn on him? Already, talk shows and podcasts are picking apart every smile, every side comment, every awkward moment on air. ESPN has always thrived on debate, but the battle brewing behind closed doors may be its fiercest one yet.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a coworker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last.
But what happens if Molly's rumored blackmail folder ever sees the light of day? Could it derail contract negotiations, spark walkouts, or even push top executives to suddenly step down for personal reasons? And what about Malika? How secure can her position really be when the ground at ESPN shifts with every headline? The network has weathered scandals before, but this one feels different. More personal, more volatile, and far more likely to drag big names into the fire. If even part of what insiders are whispering is true, ESPN's biggest drama isn't happening on the debate desk, it's unfolding in the boardroom. One thing's certain. The fallout from Molly Qerim's departure is only beginning. And in Bristol, every locked office door looks like it could be the next exit. Will new secrets surface? Is Stephen A. Smith headed for the toughest reckoning of his career? And just how many buried stories are hidden beneath the first take set? Tell us in the comments what you think really happened, and whose side you're on, as the scandal continues to spiral. This is the wild world of sports media, where nothing stays secret forever. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your inbox locked, and remember, at ESPN, nobody is ever truly safe.